Well, no doubt they'll be pooping their pants. Let's begin. Now, of course, ever since Nigel Farage lifted the lid off it, we've seen countless amounts of illegal poop people arriving here from the safe country of France. And after many, many promises to either clamp down on it or send them back, stop the boats, remember that what Rishi said not so long ago, as his big campaign promise or whatever it was, nothing just seems to have worked. Even their Rwanda plan hasn't even got off the ground yet. But now it seems they've come up with an ultimatum, and it's one which might work. That is, if they got the kahunas big enough to actually carry it out. And what is that? Well, according to this article, it says that the UK will not take back asylum seekers from Ireland until France takes back Channel migrants. So I think, if anything, surely we've seen, I don't know, France say, no, we would not take them back. And thought to ourselves, maybe we should copy them and send a have a taste of your own medicine sort of message to them. But I just don't see it working. I mean, I could be wrong, and pigs might actually fly. But as far as I'm aware, the latter is not the case. But anyway, this is apparently according to a government source. They never seem to like to give their name, do they, these government sources? But anyway, the comment comes amid an escalating row between Dublin and Westminster over the Irish government's plans for new legislation to enable asylum seekers who cross the border from Northern Ireland to be sent back to the UK. An Irish Minister, Helen McEntee, I hope I pronounced that right, told a parliamentary committee last week that more than 80% of recent arrivals in Ireland come via the land border with Northern Ireland. But I bet you anything you like, that is nowhere near the amount of people that come over here illegally from France daily. So I just don't see this threat carrying much water, because whilst admittedly I don't know the exact number which are entering Ireland through that method, it's bound to be a sort of situation of, unless France, you take back those 300 people, refugees, then we won't take back those 3 that have entered Ireland. But apparently I could be wrong, because listen to this. Ireland's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Secretary Michael Martin said that the threat of deportation to Rwanda was causing fearful migrants to head from Ireland instead of the UK. Well, to be honest, I can't exactly see that happening at all. It's surely much more easier for them to come to the UK, which is a much more shorter distance, than either go all the way round the UK to get to Ireland, or across the channel from France all the way to the UK, and then make your way across the whole of the UK to Northern Ireland, and then across to Ireland. So if anything, after hearing our potential threat, this guy probably doesn't like it too much, and then thought, oh, hang on, quick, we've got to say something to make sure they don't do it. But as the row deepened apparently on Sunday night, the Irish Prime Minister Simon Harris vowed the country would not provide a loophole for anyone else's migrant challenges. And he also said that close collaboration and cooperation between the British and Irish governments was not just desirable, but absolutely essential. And you'd like to think, wouldn't you, that that would be similar for England and France, from all the people who are fleeing war whilst at the same time leaving their families behind there, surely, from the safe country of France. But it does seem that somewhere, a government source has reached down deep below, found his giant kahunas and said to them, any bid to return asylum seekers from Ireland would be rejected unless France agreed to do the same with boats crossing the channel. We won't accept any asylum returns from the EU via Ireland until the EU accepts that we can send them back to France, the source says. The thing is, from what I'm aware, we are actually legally entitled to send them back to France. It's just at the moment we don't seem to be doing that. It just seems like our border force is some sort of border force taxi, and if anything, instead of actually returning them back to France, we're just bringing them across, and the French boats all seem too happy to let us do that. And quite worryingly, listen to this, it comes as figures showed that the number of migrants that crossed the channel in small boats during the first 4 months of the year, it was at its highest ever level. And surely that number is just going to ramp up and up and up, isn't it? Especially when they find out the Rwanda plan is probably a load of crap, which no doubt, of course, there'll be appeals lodged everywhere, and not very many people, if any, are going to go there, it seems. But a major operation apparently by the Home Office to detain migrants across the UK in preparation for their departure to Rwanda has begun weeks earlier than expected. Well, it's about time they did something right, isn't it? Don't get me wrong, I don't mind if people come across here legally after getting enough points and filling out all the paperwork to actually be here legally. It's the illegal part that I actually have a problem with. And all the while we're letting this continue, we're just making a mockery of the whole thing, aren't we? And we're surely going to be seen as a laughingstock throughout the whole world. But at the end of the day, Australia did have a similar problem, and their Prime Minister at the time, Tony Abbott I think his name was, he did a similar sort of thing, and he said something like, anyone coming over here via this method is not going to be able to stay, and surely if they can do it, we can do it, because otherwise it's going to be causing a massive strain on our public service levels, isn't it? And of course the taxpayers as a whole. But just what is happening? What's the latest with this? Well, apparently ministers from both countries met in London on Monday as part of a pre-planned conference involving Mr Martin and the Northern Ireland Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris. However, a meeting between the Home Secretary James Cleverly and Miss McGuinty planned for Monday was unfortunately postponed Sunday night. Well, that to me screams of, don't worry, we'll just get around to that when we can be bothered. But speaking at a press conference, Mr Heaton-Harris said that this issue showed that the Rwanda plan was clearly working as a deterrent, adding it is having some impact already. An impact will obviously increase the first flights to take off from Rwanda. But he promised that the UK government would monitor all this very closely and continues to work with the Irish government on these matters. To be honest though, I think everyone is just waiting to see what will happen with Rwanda before they, I guess, take us seriously. And if they do notice, if this does indeed happen with Rwanda, which admittedly is a very long stretch, but if it does, then they might think we got the bottle to carry this threat out, which hopefully might make France sit back and go, ugh, sacre bleu.